Is 7:01 p.m. and we call the meeting to order and ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Blair,
Present.
trustee Kagan,
Present.
trustee Abbott,
Present.
trustee Kusak,
Present.
trustee Page,
Present.
trustee Martinez,
Present.
Mayor Cunningham.
Present.
Present.
Quorum established.
Thank you very
Present.
much.
Trustee Kusak,
Present.
If you would please
Page.
join us in
Present.
a moment of
trustee
silence
Martinez,
and in dedicating
Cunningham.
tonight's village board meeting to the memories and in honor of retired Woodridge Deputy Police Chief Mike Hager and longtime Woodridge neighbor and businessman Kenneth, Ken, as we know him, Williams. We remember and thank Mike and Ken for their dedication and service within our community and for being outstanding participants and leaders in our community. We send our heartfelt and deepest sympathies along with our thoughts and prayers for the Hager and Williams families, friends, and neighbors. If you would please now join us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening, being led by the Lip family and Director Kimberly Porter.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Well, this evening we have the distinct pleasure of inviting the Lip family, led by Mrs. Arwen Percorny Lip, up to the podium. And thank you all for joining us. Good evening and welcome. We just
Thank
have a
you.
wonderful proclamation that Trustee Blair will be reading for us this evening. Trustee Blair.
Whereas it is our honor to recognize longtime Woodridge resident, Mrs. Arwen Percorny Lip, who has been selected as the first female principal of Downers Grove South High School, starting her new role on July 1st, 2022. And whereas Arwen earned a bachelor's degree from the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign and a master's degree from Chicago State University. She started out as a social studies teacher at Joliet West High School and also worked as the district's coordinator of assessment, humanities, division chairperson, and curriculum director. And whereas in 2007, Arwen started at Hinsdale South, becoming assistant principal of curriculum and instruction before assuming her current role as principal in 2017. And whereas Downers Grove South in District 99 holds a special place for Arwen since she lives in the Downers Grove South community since 2004, and her 3 sons will be Mustangs in the near future, and her husband is a Downers Grove North alum. And whereas Arwen shared one of her initial goals when starting Downers Grove South is to amplify and empower student voice to help students create a most inclusive school environment possible. And whereas Arwen also teaches religious education to middle school students at Joliet Jewish Congregational, and her husband Tom currently serves as president of Woodridge Baseball. Arwen and Tom's oldest son, Tommy, attends Jefferson Junior High School, and their younger sons, AJ and Brody, attend Sibley Elementary School. And whereas the Village of Woodridge congratulates Arwen for her outstanding achievement and wish her continued success. Now, therefore, on behalf of Mayor Gina Cunningham, Village of Woodridge, DuPage, Will, and Cook Counties, Illinois, by virtue of her office, does hereby declare and proclaim Friday, July 1st, 2022 as Arwen Percorny Lip Day in the Village of Woodridge, and extends her personal best wishes for her continued future success, and urge all citizens of Woodridge to recognize her exemplary career, her extraordinary and countless contributions to our community.
Thank you very much, Trustee Blair. We are very honored to have you and the whole family and your mother-in-law join us this evening. So thank you so much for being here. And I've asked if you would like to say a few words, and then I'll say a few words at the end. So please.
Yes, just first, thank you to Mayor Cunningham and all of you so much for this very special opportunity. It's very, very heartwarming to me. I have lived in the community for a very long time. I've felt an intimate connection from the district to just having a passion for working with teenagers and having District 99 right in our community. And so the plea and pull in my heart to serve my own community was very strong as soon as I knew the position was open. And I'm just really looking forward to serving my neighbors and friends of my kids' teammates and every single family and every single child that attends Downers Grove South High School. And I'm looking forward to increasing the partnership between the district and the village of Woodridge also. So I look forward to being back, possibly with Downers Grove South students in the future to celebrate all kinds of wonderful accomplishments. So thank you so much.
Well, on behalf of a very, very proud and excited community of neighbors and family, and of course, the village of Woodridge, the village board, and all of our citizens, we wish you the very, very best. And when we were just talking earlier, it just hit me so hard that this is a dream come true for you, and I could tell, and how wonderful that is for every student, every faculty member. You know, I just am so proud for this wonderful opportunity. So many, many years of success, not in football though. So I'm hoping as an alum of Downers Grove North, like your husband, that crosstown, I'm hoping I've got to root for North at that point, but just wishing you the very, very best. It's so exciting. And thank you so much. And thank the entire family for being here with you this evening. It's our honor to have you here, and happy your day coming up on July 1st, your first official day at Downers Grove South High School Principal Lip. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we do have a second proclamation that Administrator Stonich is going to read for us this evening. Administrator Stonich.
Thank you, Mayor Cunningham. Whereas in celebration of the new facility groundbreaking of the Woodridge Police Department, which provides a vital public service by safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the Woodridge community. And whereas Woodridge Public Works provides essential community services, including improving infrastructure relating to roadways, buildings, traffic control, forestry, stormwater, fleet management, and water and sewer services. And whereas the village board identified the need for improved police and public works facilities as a strategic priority since the early 2000s, and the village board reviewed building options and determined an off-site location would meet the best needs of our village. And whereas phase one of the project includes the construction of a new police facility, a salt dome, outside storage, and cold storage at the new site. And whereas the Woodridge community is grateful for all the collaborative effort in this extraordinary transformative achievement, which will enrich the Woodridge community for many years to come. Now, therefore, I, Gina Cunningham, Mayor of the Village of Woodridge, DuPage, Will, and Cook County, Illinois, by virtue of my office, do hereby proclaim May 20th, 2022 as Woodridge Facilities Celebration Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Administrator Stonich. It is an honor and truly in deep appreciation to all of our officers, the entire police department, Chief Cunningham, to be able to celebrate the groundbreaking. And the proclamation signifies the importance of what we will be doing tomorrow in celebrating this wonderful, transformative for our community campus for both the police department and public works as well. So it's congratulations to both. Also do want to remind everyone that in honor of Police Week, we are asking our neighbors to please consider turning on a blue light. Blue light bulbs are available at Home Depot. I ask that you please consider putting that out there just to say thank you and let our officers know as they're driving our streets and serving and protecting us that we are thinking of them and thanking them. They're just outstanding, and their service is incredible to all of our neighbors and all of our businesses in Woodridge. We have much to celebrate and be thankful for. So we look forward to a wonderful groundbreaking tomorrow. Now we'll go ahead and move to comments from the public. This first would be comments that are not related to this evening's agenda. Going to pause for just a moment and acknowledge any written public comments that have been received prior to the meeting that do not relate to tonight's agenda. If so, we would enter those into the public record, please.
Mayor Cunningham, we received one in relation to unincorporated water rate concerns. And so copies have been provided to the board, and we will enter that into the official public record.
Thank you so much. Under comments that are related to the agenda this evening, going to just pause for a moment and ask for any written public comments that have been received prior to the meeting that do appear on tonight's agenda. And if so, we would enter those into the public record, please. None? We have none? Okay, thank you. Seeing that we don't have anyone here this evening joining us that would make a comment, we'll go ahead and move on to our omnibus for this evening. Going to ask, please, for a motion to approve items A through F and the acceptance of items G and H. If I could.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Page. And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Martinez. Any requests for an item to be considered separately this evening? Hearing none, if our administrator would please read the items into our record, please, for tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Cunningham. Members of the board, good evening. First item A, Resolution 2022-50, a resolution approving the purchase of bulk rock salt through the DuPage County Joint Purchase Agreement. This contract is with the Morton Salt Corporation. Item B, Resolution 2022-51, a resolution approving the Lombard Joint Bid 2022-23 for Lombard, Bartlett, Bensonville, Elmhurst, West Chicago, Wheaton, Woodridge, and DuPage County for sidewalk saw cutting with Hard Rock Concrete Cutters, Inc. Item C, Ordinance 2022-32, an ordinance granting a minor amendment to a site plan, 1215 101st Street, Argonne Lab Site Improvements. Item D, Ordinance 2022-33, an ordinance granting a minor amendment to a special use for a regional planned unit development final plan, Uptown at Seven Bridges Pathway Project. Item E, Resolution 2022-52, is a resolution permitting the extension of a temporary COVID testing clinic located at CVS Pharmacy parking lot at 8645 Woodward Avenue. Item F, Resolution 2022-53, a resolution permitting the extension of a temporary COVID testing clinic located at Woodridge Clinic parking lot at 7530 Woodward Avenue. Item G are previous board minutes, and item H is the accounts payable registers for April 29th and May 6th, 2022.
Thank you very much. If our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Kagan,
Aye.
Trustee Abbott,
Aye.
Trustee Krusek,
Aye.
Trustee Page,
Aye.
Trustee Martinez,
Aye.
Trustee Blair.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, everyone. This evening, under presentation, of communications, I do have a few items under the mayor's report. First of all, we want to send congratulations after week number 8 of the Woodridge Citizens Police Academy, which was DUCOM and the graduation. On Wednesday, May 11th, the Woodridge Police Department Citizens Police Academy class of 2022 graduated. Congratulations to everyone and Chief for the police department as well. The class learns all about SWAT, evidence, traffic, homicide investigations, conducting traffic stops, and much more. Before the graduation, DUCOM, or 911 dispatchers, spoke to the class about their important role in public safety. Please stay tuned for how to enroll in the class of 2023, which ends up being right about Thanksgiving time, Chief? Is that when the sign up? Okay, great. So it's an awesome class from everyone I've talked to. They really enjoy it. They learn so much, and we send congratulations to the class of 2022. While we're on graduations, we also would like to thank all the teachers, all of the faculty from our school districts, and congratulations to everyone, all the grads for graduating this year. We wish you the very, very best from all of us from a very proud community. Woodridge is recognized by the GFOA for outstanding popular annual financial report. The GFOA is the Government Finance Officers Association, which is a local government finance professional association here in the US. And recently, we were awarded again, I have to add, so Director Leto, the Outstanding Achievement in Popular Annual Finance Reporting. And just thoroughly excited to share that with our community again. The Annual Financial Reporting Award recognizes local governments who create versions of their annual financial reports that are understandable and accessible. Some of the topics include financial highlights, making sense of property taxes, general fund revenue versus expenditures, capital projects, motor fuel tax fund, water and sewer fund, and much, much more. You can review this report and learn more about the village's finance in an easy-to-read format just by visiting our village website. We thank very much the entire finance department and team for their outstanding works, and congratulations again on receiving this wonderful recognition to our finance department and Director Leto. Helping Households Connect. This is Affordable Connectivity Program, and it's called ACP. Provides eligible households with a discount on broadband services and connected devices. The program provides a discount of up to $30 per month towards internet for eligible households. ACP is a US government program which is run by the Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC. This program helps low-income households pay for internet service and connected devices like a laptop or a tablet. For more information, please visit www.affordableconnectivity.gov. If you receive health insurance through Medicaid or pending, it is important to check to see what there may be changes with regards to health insurance. To keep your insurance, the Illinois Medicaid needs to be able to send you paperwork. So please provide an address where mail can always reach you. The Illinois Department of Health Care and Family Services is taking steps to prepare for the end of the federal COVID-19 public health emergency. When the PHE, as it is called, ends, the Federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services will end its continuous coverage. There is information, and I'm going to list a phone number, and you can find this through visiting www.2.illinois.gov HFS address, or you can call 877-805-5312. Lastly, would like to thank our VFW post, which is Woodridge VFW Post 1578, in their incredibly wonderful tradition of remembrance. They will lead their annual Memorial Day silent parade on Monday, May 30th, 2022, and all are invited. The takeoff time, which the route starts at the fire station right on Woodridge Drive, and will come over to Center Drive and go right over to their VFW Memorial Wall. It is an incredible service that honors and remembers all those who have served and all those who gave everything. Please do, if you can, join us. And again, thank you very much to our VFW post for their outstanding works. That is my report, Administrator Stonich. Your report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. First item A is Resolution 2022-54, is a resolution authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a certain agreement for site civil construction inspection services between the Village of Woodridge and V3 companies. This is in relationship to the police and public works new facilities project.
Thank you very much. If I could please have a motion to approve Resolution 2022-54.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Krusek. And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Blair. Any discussion on this item? If our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Abbott,
Aye.
Trustee Krusek,
Aye.
Trustee Page,
Aye.
Trustee Martinez,
Aye.
Trustee Blair,
Aye.
Trustee Kagan.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next item B is the first quarter financial report for 2022, and Director Leto is here to present.
Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Thank you for having me here tonight to present our first quarter financial report. So I wanted to start off and just talk briefly in summary of what happened for the first 3 months of our fiscal year. Our sales tax revenues continue to be strong. Mid last year, due to new legislation that took effect, the village did begin to see an uptick in these revenues, and we are now back to pre-pandemic levels in this one account. So inflationary increases to the cost of goods is also contributing to increased sales taxes for us, and sales tax revenues support both our general and capital projects funds. So if we compare this quarter to the same time last year, these revenues are up about 55%, or bringing in about an additional $1 million. At the start of the new year, we also received bids for our construction phase of our facilities project. So moving into the second quarter, the board has approved the project budget and construction has commenced. As such, we will begin to see a spend down of our bond proceeds, and we'll see that considerably beginning in the second quarter. Our FEMA claim. So you recall that we submitted last year for FEMA to get reimbursement for much of our PPE costs due to COVID. Some of that, about 35,000 of it, was rejected by FEMA and said it was ineligible. However, they did contact us and said that they are now reviewing the claims once again. And so we're hoping to see some positive news from that in the coming weeks. And then the village also filed its first annual report to the Federal Treasury, recognizing the use of our first half of our American Rescue Plan Act, or our ARPA funds that we received late last year. We're using that right now as revenue replacement in the general fund, and we do expect the second half of our allotment to be received later this year. So we have $2.3 million that will be used at this time for revenue replacement. Moving on to our general fund. For the first 3 months of the year, we had revenues of about $5.8 million. That's about $350,000 higher than budget and about $1.2 million higher than this time last year. And I'll get into exactly why that happened, but I did kind of give some of that away just on the last slide when I talked about sales taxes. So, but I'll tell you, there's a couple other that's also helping that number. We had $3.9 million in expenditures, which is about $172,000 higher than last year and about $1.9 million lower than budget. And so this is typical for the first quarter of the year. And so the main reason is that many of the bills that we pay for the first 3 months are actually for goods and services that occurred in the prior year. And so as part of our annual financial report and our process, we will put those costs and revenues recognized in the prior fiscal year. And so that the purpose is that we accurately reflect the revenues that we earned for the year and any expenses that were incurred. And so when you see our financial statements, it actually does show what we earned and paid out for the fiscal year. Our ending fund balance through the first 3 months of the year did increase because revenues exceeded expenses. So it increased about $1.8 million. So here are our overperformers in the general fund. And so we're very early in the year, but we are seeing some strong indicators for several of these major revenue sources, which is really encouraging to see. And I talked about sales taxes already, but we also have utility taxes that are doing better. And that's one revenue source that's really been on steady decline for several years. And so it has increased slightly, and that was really due to increased gas prices. And I'm sure all of us had seen that in our gas bills at home, unfortunately, but it does result in more revenue to the village. They're almost double what the costs have been from prior years. We've also have charges for service. That line item started out strong this year. It is a relatively small item, but we did have a special police detail that we did and a large payment for delinquent alarm fees. But both of those are considered really one-time influx of cash. We also had income taxes. They're stronger. We have an improving labor market. We also have higher than normal corporate income tax receipts that's feeding those incomes. So we do have some underperformers, but it's very, very early in the year, right? And so we do have Intergovernmental revenues, and we have a decline there. We were expecting to see this decline, though. One of the revenues specific in intergovernmental is use taxes. And so that new legislation that started charging sales tax for online taxation, it used to come through us as use tax and it was distributed per capita. Now it's being actually given to us based off of how the sales, where the sales are being delivered, right? So we're seeing a shift from use taxes, which is also driving a little bit of the increase that we're seeing in the sales taxes. So it's really just moving one revenue source to the other. We have fines and forfeits, and those have been declining over the past years. And so it's really unclear if that trend is going to continue this year. They're just slightly down for the first quarter. And our difference really in real estate transfer tax, I wouldn't call it a decline. We had a large transfer tax stamp that came through at the beginning of last year that raised really those revenues for the first quarter. So we'll continue to monitor these throughout the year and hope that they recover. They're not that far off from budget at this time. Looking at our expense side, I found it interesting when I was looking at this to see that the personnel costs are almost exactly the same amount as they were last year, even though we did have an annual increase in January. But really the reason for that is we've had some position vacancies and some of those have been filled with temporary staffing. And so we see a decline or actually it's staying flat in personnel, but services are slightly increased from last year. And that's where our temporary staffing costs are being allocated at this time. Our commodities are higher, and really what this reflects is the rebudgeting of the salt purchases. Last year, you'll recall, due to the pandemic, we had it in motor fuel tax fund. We've moved that back to the general fund for this year. And so of course, as a result, we would expect our commodities to be higher. Now, capital in the general fund, really a very small portion of our expenses. This $5,000 that we spent here is just reflective of the spending that we had for police vehicle changeover costs this year. And then the slight increase that you see in transfers, that's due to increased transfers to the garage fund for increased fuel costs. Moving to our water and sewer fund, revenues here were $2.6 million for the first 3 months of the year. That's just slightly higher than what we saw this time last year. Expenditures also very similar to what we saw last year at this point at $1.47 million. And as of now, since again, like in the general fund, as revenues exceed expenses, our ending fund balance has increased about 1.1 million, bringing the fund balance to about 5.2 million. We do have some overperformers also in the water and sewer fund. We did see, you'll see that water usage and sewer usage is not on our overperformer. That really has leveled off at this point. But some 3 smaller revenue sources have increased. And so we've increased the capital improvement fee. And as such, it was resulting in higher revenues for this year. We also have an uptick to our water connection fee revenue. Now, what this is new water customers that are connecting to the system. And so being an almost completely built out community, these revenues are really just a fraction of what they had been in previous years. Penalty revenues also are part of that other category that I have up here on this slide. And last year, due to COVID, you'll recall that the board had stopped charging penalties, late fees on water bills for a period of time. So it was lower in 2021, and we're back to what we typically see for the first quarter in this category. Looking at the expenditures in the water and sewer fund, our personnel and commodities both in line with what we had experienced last year. Several water main repairs, emergency repairs that we had this year, as well as the temporary staffing costs related to the water and sewer fund, those are responsible for increasing the expenditures in our services line item. Transfers are also higher here due to increased costs in the overhead. And so the water and sewer fund reimburses the general fund for their share of a portion of these costs. In our capital projects fund, these account for all non-water related projects that are over $20,000. And so revenues here are largely sales taxes. And so at 1.3 million, they're about $270,000 higher than this time last year. And for the same reasons we spoke up in the general fund. On the expense side, they almost mirror the spending that we saw the first quarter of last year at $733,000. And now that our construction has begun on our facilities project, we will see this, obviously, this line item increase considerably in the coming quarters. Our ending fund balance at 33 million does include that 20 million in bond proceeds that will be spent down this year for the project. So the village does have a number of other funds. We have 10, actually 10 other smaller funds, and they're shown in summary here. It's so early in the year, there's really not many significant variances from the budget or even prior year that we can report on. There's just two I will point out. So the first line is our motor fuel tax fund. In the first quarter, we've had no actual expenses, but this is road construction related, and so we wouldn't expect to see expenditures in the first quarter of the year in this fund. And also then our debt service fund, you'll see that our actual expenditures are about double of what the budget is, more than double actually. And that's because we pay our debt service twice a year, once in February and once in August. And so we see that we made our debt service payment in February, but the budget is split equally amongst the 12 months. It doesn't count for August and February when we make those payments. And that's causing that variance there. Moving on to our cash and investments. So at the end of the first quarter, the village had almost $75 million in cash and investments. Again, 20 million of that is our bond proceeds, the majority of which is going to be spent this year, as I had mentioned earlier. Almost all of our dollars, as you can see on this slide, they're in some type of an investment in an effort to maximize our earnings potential. We only keep what we need in our checking and savings accounts in order to meet our immediate cash needs whenever possible. So as you can see from this pie chart, the village also diversifies its investments. We have holdings in investment pools, municipal bonds, certificates of deposit, money markets, as well as governmental agencies. So looking here, this is really showing how we ladder our investments. And so the village policy allows us to go out 3 years max on a maturity. And so we try to ladder our investments so that we continually have investments maturing and being reinvested unless we need to pull some cash back for expenditures. So we have currently 37% of our investments maturing in the next year, 39% in year 2, and then about 24% in year 3. So our portfolio rate of return, you can see right here, is about 1.14%. That is right now lagging our 2-year treasury, and that's because of this laddering. And so whenever we're in a rising interest rate environment, because we go out 3 years, we tend to lag until we get caught up. So as our investments mature and we reinvest in higher earnings, you'll start seeing over the next quarters, our investment rate of return will be increasing as well. So really in summary, revenues, like I spoke of earlier, largely due to sales and income taxes, they're returning to pre-pandemic levels, which is good to see. It's nice to see the funds doing well there in that case, especially the general fund. And then after many months of intensive staff and consultants' time, everyone is really excited to see that the ground is moving at our future site for the police facility and our public works area. So looking forward to seeing that come to completion in the next year or so. And then on the downside, we have inflation, and it's really at concerning levels. All of us know that when we go to the store or fill up our gas tank. And it's no different for the village. And we're experiencing also significant increases in our costs for doing business. The only upside that I can think to that is the Federal Reserve's response in order to try and stave off some of the inflation. And they've done that through interest rate hikes. And so what that does for us, they just increased them 50 basis points. And they've not been shy in saying that there will be more of them in the coming year. But what that does is it increases our interest rates. And so that helps us earn more on our investments. And so it's a little bit of glimmer of hope maybe in inflation. So that concludes my report, Mayor. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you very much, Director Aletto. Appreciate all the information. Any questions from any board members at this time? Thank you again. We appreciate all the information in your presentation as always.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor Cunningham, if I may, if the board will indulge me, we have one announcement, or I have an announcement that I'd like to make. And it involves some staffing news in relationship to our a member of our senior management team. And it's a very bittersweet announcement. As the mayor and board are already aware, Community Development Director Kimberly Porter recently announced that she'll be leaving employment with the village at the end of this month. Director Porter has accepted a position with the U.S. Department of Transportation, which will serve as managing community planner, which she'll have a big role in dual assignments on the East Coast and also still here in Chicago. And she's planning to relocate there to the East Coast, which will certainly afford her, among many benefits, being closer to family and her fiance as well. And I can say that we are certainly happy for Kim. We wish you the very best as you embark on this next and exciting new chapter in your profession and in your personal life. And your dedication, your commitment to the village, and our planning and economic development efforts, and service to our residents, service to our businesses over your 4+ year tenure have been greatly appreciated. And I thank you for that. So Mayor and Board, please join me in wishing Director Porter very well as she embarks on this next chapter. We sincerely thank her for her leadership, her professionalism, and unwavering support for the Woodridge community and our village team. Thank you, Kimberly.
Well, again, yes. I'll add just a few words and then Director Porter. You know, the word tireless comes to my mind whenever I think of you and all of the time and just going above and beyond to help our community and our neighbors and our businesses on behalf of all of us as a village. Yes, we're happy and excited for you, but we will miss you. Big shoes to fill, as they say. But thank you so much, as our administrator just shared. All of your outstanding dedication and commitment and always going above and beyond means so much to all of us. So we do thank you. And please share. I know that it is bittersweet, as Al said, but we are very excited for you and all the exciting things that you have ahead of you.
Thank you. Thank you for those kind words. It is bittersweet. You know, I remember it's been more so reflective as I am here through May 31st and working and trying to clean out and transition and still answer questions for everyone. I think one of the most important things with respect to this reflection is that, you know, I remember visiting, my grandma lived on Hawthorne. And so I would spend weekends and some summers out here. And so it's just been that it's come full circle. I've had the opportunity to give back to a community that was so kind to my family. My grandmother is from Germany by way of Canada. I have tons of family members in Canada still. And so it was just very nice to be able to give back to a community that was very kind to her when she moved to Woodridge back in the 90s. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about planning, trying to think outside of the box, trying to think about those gray areas with respect to planning and development, both good and bad. I've stood up high. I've had some low points, but it's all about reflection and being able to take away some of those moments and implement them in my next role. I'm excited. I'm scared. This is I am be walking around with people down in DC, handling business there, but also bringing a lot of that back home to Chicagoland area. And so hopefully that means funding for communities out here. So that's important. I've been working on the DMMC Transportation Committee, and they're sort of kind of been putting themselves in that position and be prepared when that funding starts to come this way. So I think that DuPage County is a great position. You never know, I might show up here or get your application when I'm back in Chicago for some fun. So I'm excited because I'm scared. It's moving really fast, but I'm excited for this next challenge and this last few years of my career. But I want to thank you all. I've had opportunities to work with all of you on interesting projects, on crazy situations, on things that you kind of look back now and we can laugh about it now, but it wasn't funny in the midst of everything. So I want to thank you all for your kind words and well wishes. Thank you so much.
And we thank you again for impacting our community so much and all of us. And we wish you the very, very best. Congratulations to you. We will miss you.
Thank you.
I wanted to say a special thanks to our Public Works, our admin team for all of their extra help. As you look outside, you see the banners and everything waving. We thank the Public Works team for preparing for tomorrow's groundbreaking ceremony and all these special, I personally want to mention, and it actually was mentioned to me by my husband first, as he was driving down Janes Avenue to come home and made a right turn on 83rd Street. And he's like, Gina, have you seen the beautiful plants that are now hanging right off, as you're going down Janes Avenue? And I hadn't seen them yet because it was just that day they were being, hung in that area, and they are absolutely beautiful. It is truly just a wonderful enhancement to the neighborhood. And so many people were walking when I was driving by the other night. And I have to say thank you again. Please share that, Director Bethel, with your entire team. And also if our Assistant Village Administrator could share with the admin team the number of proclamations, the number of recognitions, and extra time that has gone into planning and really executing to make sure that we really have a wonderful groundbreaking for our community is so appreciated. And I just want to convey that on behalf of all of us. In addition, this past Saturday and Sunday, our village recognized proudly by proclamation, Saint Scholastica's father, Norbert Regea. Father Norbert celebrated 50 years in priesthood and then also 10 years leading Saint Scholastica. His exemplary service and dedication to our community and the citizens of Woodridge, especially after the tornado. Most know that Saint Scholastica, the rectory and part of the church and school was impacted by the tornado. And his leadership and compassion has just been incredible. It's hard to imagine that's already been almost a year, but we did dedicate the 14th and 15th of May as Father Norbert Days in Woodridge. So I did want to share that, as well as we do have another proclamation that will be coming forward for the weekend. Actually, it's Thursday, May 26th and Friday, May 27th. And it's a very special weekend with one of our colleagues from the Woodridge Park District. And I'll share that at our next meeting, but I want you to please know we have much to be celebrating. We're thankful for the community that we have and the wonderful neighbors that we have. And our thanks to all of you for staying connected with us. It's so important, and it truly makes all the difference to all of us here at the village, as well as our community. Please do take good care, follow all the CDC guidelines. You know, I know that times are difficult and hard to understand, but it's important to please follow those guidelines to keep everyone safe. Also want to thank our neighbors for showing your ongoing support of our local businesses by shopping, buying, and dining in Woodridge. That too makes all the difference to so many. And we thank you, and please keep it up. And we hope you shop and dine a lot in Woodridge this summer. With that being said, with no further business to discuss this evening, we do have the need to convene an executive session and this will be immediately following our adjournment. For the purpose of this executive session is to review and discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals of the public body, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. At this time, if I could please have a motion to adjourn our regular board meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Martinez. Thank you very much. And a second?
Second, Kagan.
Thank you, Trustee Kagan. All those in favor, please sign aye.
Aye.
Sounds like the motion carries. We thank everyone very much. The time is 7:45 p.m. Please take good care. Have a good evening.